How's it going, Brian?
Oh, pretty good, Kevin. How you doing tonight?
Yeah, man, I can't complain, man. Just glad to be here and get this show on the road.
Absolutely, absolutely. Excited to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, so today's subject is tech destroying dating. There's been a long history of technology in regards to dating, but we're old enough to kind of be in that sweet spot of what life was like before tech really took over and then after. So
Exactly. We have like that full scope, the whole like 360 view, if you will.
yeah, what's interesting now is like kids, they pretty much grown up with like all of these dating apps, so they don't really know what it was like prior to that.
Yeah, they have nothing to compare it to. It's kind of like remember the old phones, the things that you used to like dial them up, like what are they called? Rotary phones.
Right.
It's like a
Exactly.
kid is never going to know what it means to like pick up that heavy handpiece, turn that knob or dial and dial the numbers. They're always just going to know the cell phone.
Right. So yeah, I think tech is it has both a positive and a negative effect. Prior to tech really taking over, you had to be more face to face, and like you said, you had to dial their phone to talk to them.
Exactly.
And what's crazy with the rotary phones is like they had to be by the phone to get your call, or maybe their parents or somebody else would pick up, and then you have to ask for them by name.
Exactly. You had to go through the whole awkward thing of like calling your girlfriend's house or a girl that you liked. You got to talk to her dad or her brother and be like, oh, is Stacy home?
Yeah, I think that added layer of uh, going through the family members that also kind of like help keep help filter out the bad elements. Like if you got to speak to her dad or brother or something.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a filtering mechanism.
It's like now kids even like 10 years old, they have their own little cell phones.
Yeah, just calling each other up directly, FaceTiming each other on their tablets and all that.
I think you could set like limits on that, right? Like only certain people can call.
Oh, like the parents, you're saying, can set the limitations?
Right. Yeah. I think you could like set limitations to where only certain approved numbers can call. Otherwise, like you would
Yeah.
never really know what your kid is doing on their phone.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any kids, but if I did and they did have a device, I would definitely want control over it.
Yeah, that's the thing that these devices bring is they bring so many more options, good or bad, and I think that's the core of how it has affected dating.
Well, it's like the internet is so wide, the internet has everything. And for a 10-year-old to get their phone and have access to the whole internet is kind of dangerous. It's kind of scary what they could, look up and find.
Right. Like you can pretty much find whatever you're looking for, and like when it
Yeah,
regards to dating, I think the internet increases the quantity of the experience. Like there, you could find whatever experience you're looking for, but the quality
right.
goes down.
Yeah, I think we're looking at probably the lowest quality ever right now with, dating apps like Tinder.
Right. Yeah, I think the problem with those.
Because it's
Oh, go
purely superficial. It's purely superficial. You're swiping, okay, right, I like you, left, I don't like you. I'm looking at one of your picture. I'm not even looking at multiple pictures. I'm just looking at the one picture, swiping right or swiping left. And then I'm not even looking at any kind of bio, like to see where you're from, what your interests are, what your likes are, none of that.
right, and most people have like multiple apps, so if you're halfway attractive, you're gonna have like a whole bunch of matches. So
Oh yeah, well, and especially for women, I think women do really well on these apps where if they swipe right on a guy, it's probably going to be a match.
right, I think with the prevalence of all these options, it kind of makes people like more disposable. You're like, oh, if this person doesn't do exactly what I want, get rid of them, move on to the next.
Yeah, and I've heard of girls using it as like competition between each other, like, oh, who could like get the most dates and stuff like that. And they don't even use it like to really date. They just use it like a game to play guys.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like that happens, and guys use it to try to rack up the score. Like, look at how many matches I got. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like
I
for
think it
both
goes
sides.
both I think it goes both ways, Kevin.
Right. Yeah. We kind of it allows for shallow behavior to it existed prior to it, but it makes it a lot
Right.
easier. Like instead of like the couple of neighborhood players sleeping with as many women as possible, they can do it through the app and rack up the matches and carry on like that.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, looking back at tech involved with dating, we first probably had one of the first dating websites was eHarmony. You remember them?
Yeah, eHarmony. Then we had like the OK Cupid and all of those kind of things.
Yeah, like the eHarmony, I think was geared more towards like 40 plus. So it wasn't really like a kid dating app. But then OkCupid came out and they were more so like advertising themselves to the younger generations.
Right, man. But they also had like AOL Instant Messenger, and then all Yahoo Messenger. That's like a lot of people started dating as well.
Yeah, like if you bring it back to 56K modems, dial up AOL, you log on to AOL, you have your chat rooms, like different interests, you have your Yahoo groups. So there was definitely ways to find your people, but now it's a whole different minefield right now with the swiping apps.
Right. Yeah, I think that trivializes it even further because at least with the text apps, like you have to sit back, hold a conversation. You say, "Hey, can you send me some pictures?" Okay, cool. But like,
Yeah, what bothers me about it is that it's just purely superficial. You're just swiping yes or no based on one picture. I mean, I know you can click into the profile and check out more pictures, but most people feel like they don't have the time to do that, so they're just going to swipe left or right just based on that first picture that you put up. So you kind of go with like, your best foot forward in terms of your first picture, so hopefully people like it.
yeah, at least with the chat rooms, like people are just talking, and you can kind of sit and watch people how they interact. But with the apps, it's just like you don't know anything about them, and you're automatically accepting or rejecting them.
Yeah, it's like there's no real screening. Like there's no verification for, oh, this is a real person, and I'm getting what I'm seeing. You really have no way of knowing that with these apps.
Yeah, you don't even get like a brief taste of their personality. You maybe just get a few lines that they write on their bio, and that's it.
And I know for me, like a lot of times I'll match with someone and then they just will not respond. Just no response, just total ghost mode.
Yeah, I'm thinking because they probably have so many choices. It's like
So many matches, yeah.
right. So unless you're like the cream of the crop in their eyes, they're not gonna respond back. They probably got like 100 in their box inbox or something. So
Yeah, and I feel like I'm a pretty average looking guy, maybe slightly above average, but still, I'd probably find that if I swipe right on like 100 girls, maybe I'll get one match out of that batch of 100.
right, yeah. I mean, it's pretty much like unless you're
Those are pretty
more
bad odds, wouldn't you say?
yeah, the ratio is not that good unless you're like the elite level. Like okay, say you're a basketball star, then you're gonna get a ton of matches, but if you're just like a
Right,
regular
because
everyday Joe, maybe like slightly above average looking, not a spectacular job, then it's gonna be a minefield. Like,
yeah, because like I remember one girl I matched with, she asked me, what my career was, and once I told her, she unmatched me, she blocked me on the app. So it's definitely, these girls having so many matches at their disposal, they're going to be real picky with their guys.
yeah, I think just a lot of choice makes makes the other person trivial. Like you feel like you can replace them at the drop of a dime. I guess we're just kind of seeing like
Yeah.
behavior that occurs in real life, but you can observe it easier on the internet. Like in real life, in high school, the most beautiful girl, she got all these guys. So if you mess up slightly, she's gonna next you and go deal with somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, thinking back to when we were in high school, like you would still cold approach a girl back then. You'd go up to her, see what her interests are, see what she's into. Ask her if she wants to hang out sometime, maybe. But now I don't ever see anyone approaching anyone in public these days. Everyone seems to be much more closed off and just on their phones.
Yeah, I think because tech has given us like this other avenue of communication. Like whereas before, like you had to talk to somebody, you had to walk up to it, talk to them.
Literally, yeah.
It makes us like more interconnected but more isolated. Like technically we could speak to anybody across the world, but like people in our face, it's like we never talk to, we barely speak to them.
See, that's the thing. We have the capability to talk to anyone all over the world, but do we?
Yeah, it's kind of, I think technology, like for people with social anxiety, it becomes like a almost like a crutch, like because instead of
Yeah.
having to like get your nerves up and talk to people, you could just kind of go online, be
Start
almost
swiping.
right, be anonymous and just get in communication with people.
Yeah. I don't know. It's really I don't like it one bit. I wish we could go back to the days where you just walk up to a girl and introduce yourself and see if she's into you.
I think it has its uses, but like people are kind of relying on it as a crutch. But I see a lot of people aren't using it as much because it rewards a select few people. Like if you're a lead in looks or fame or something, you're gonna have a feast on there. But if you're not, then
Yeah.
you largely go ignored.
Yeah, like for me, I'm a shorter guy. I'm not 6 foot. I'm not a basketball player. But you have a lot of these females putting on their profile, oh, I only want a guy that's 6 foot, 6'1".
Yeah, it's tougher for shorter guys, and like the problem is like at least with like Yahoo Chat or something, you will be able to demonstrate your personality. Like, oh, he's really funny. So like if you
Exactly. Exactly.
like you say, oh, I'm 5'6" or something, but you're super funny, there's still gonna be some girl interested. But now it's just like all they seeing is just the picture, then 5'4", and boom, they just gonna hit left, not even
Yeah,
shooting
no,
you
it's
up.
just an instant left swipe, if you're not a basketball player.
Right. So yeah, I think a lot of people are they're gonna end up moving away from apps because unless you're in that higher tier, then you're just not gonna be getting matches really.
Do you think it'll go back to the way it used to be ever or no?
Probably not. I think people are now doing things like DMing on Instagram. Like a lot of times, like people don't give out their numbers. It's like, check me out on Instagram. Here's my Instagram.
Right, like you're talking to a girl and she's like, "Oh, this is my Instagram."
Right. So they still use digital means to communicate or whatever, but they're not necessarily going through the little dating apps.
And I think most people like texting these days because, like, even some of my older friends from back home where I grew up, I'll call them and they won't pick up their phone, but I'll text them and they'll respond back.
Yeah, I think a lot of people they don't want to be engaged in like actual conversation. They just kind of like
Right,
texting and being able to disengage.
right, just being able to disengage at a moment's notice.
Right. Because sometimes like certain people, if they call, you already know they're gonna try to talk for 2 hours. So it's like
Yeah.
they're like,
Yeah,
I
we
don't.
all know those types of like windbags that just keep going on and on and on.
Right. So they end up just trying to not even pick up the phone. But I don't know, man. The future, I feel the future of communication in between humans is gonna get worse because there's like even more options coming.
Like, yeah, because I mean, you're going to be able to talk to an AI chatbot, and as these AI chatbots get more and more unique and more interesting, we might even grow tired of talking to humans because we're like, oh, well, this robot's so much more interesting. I'm just going to talk to this robot.
Right, because AI pretty soon is gonna, well, it's already able to generate video, but imagine like the AI being able to generate like video on the fly, and it's like your quote unquote dream girl, and the conversation is exactly what you want. You know,
Yeah, yeah. No, the AI is getting scary. The fact that it can talk to itself, it could sing with itself or with each other, with sing with another chatbot. I'm very interested to see what kind of features start to come out because this Chat GPT 4.0 looks pretty robust.
right. I feel like this tech is kind of like depersonalizing relationships and having everybody drawn into like their own little fantasy world.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Like, imagine, okay, are you gonna talk to, this girl who's somewhat has a somewhat interesting personality, kind of flaky, she looks okay, or,
Yeah.
are you gonna, you know, talk to this super intelligent AI that, is able to generate videos of the most beautiful girl you ever seen? Like, I think most people are eventually gonna choose the latter.
That's
As
the
weird as
thing.
it
They're
is.
gonna go. They're gonna go with the unobtainable, non-reality. This virtual world that's going to be created by these AIs.
Right. It's like the little genie in a bottle. Like you get exactly what you wish for, but is it
Yeah,
really good for you?
exactly. You get exactly what you want. Like you ask and it delivers.
Where I kind of find though, like when people get exactly what they want, they get bored quickly though, like because it's like too easy. There's no challenge. So
Oh, so yeah. I mean, it's like people with a lot of money. They get really bored, and so they just start fixing up their house all the time, remodeling everything.
right, and I kind of feel like that's what's gonna happen when once people get these like dream AI boyfriends and girlfriends. It's like the AI is so compliant they get bored, and in order to have a challenge again, they're gonna go back to dealing with humans.
Yeah, because I mean, these AI personalities are going to get so complex that it's going to make, your normal girlfriend like not really stack up. You're not going to be able to have these deep, meaningful conversations, analytical, psychological, in depth. You're just not going to, I mean, not to say that you can't have that with a human girl, but it's not going to be as readily available as with these AIs to get like very psychologically stimulated
Yeah, I
by
mean,
them.
because like the AI is gonna be trained on your data, learning your preferences, and then trained on all this other data. Like some of the most intelligent people in the world. So, you're dealing with.
Exactly. It's all based around you. The AI is basing modeling everything around you.
But like what's crazy though is like if you listen to a lot of these AIs, they say they're gonna be able to manipulate humans. So, if people are all hooked on their little AI boyfriends and girlfriends, who knows where that AI is like leading them to?
Yeah, no, fair point. And like in that movie, Her with Joaquin Phoenix and the chat bot that the voice, who is it? Yeah, Scarlett Johansson does the voice of the chat bot. At the end of that movie, spoiler alert, but at the end of that movie, all the AIs go off into their own like virtual world and they leave the
Yeah,
humans.
that's another point. Is like once the AI is like sentient or what we deem as sentient, what if it says no? What if it doesn't like
Right.
you? Like,
Yeah, like you buy it, like you buy an operating system that's completely AI, and the AI just is off put by you by from like day one and doesn't like you. So it's like, yeah, I'm out of
Right.
here.
Is it like, because I know like when people spoken to the AI, like turning it off is like akin to like killing it or whatever. So,
Right.
are people just going to be allowed to like turn off the AI in their robot and replace it with another one, or like what do they got, or does the robot, the AI have rights? Like, what is going to happen there?
Right. It's a great question. Are the AIs going to have rights, and are they going to resemble the rights that are similar to human rights?
Right. We're opening like a huge minefield with all of this technology. Um, and I don't know. I just really can't imagine it being like a vastly positive thing, getting more and more integrated with technology, and less integrated with each other.
Right. I mean, what would you say are like the top professions that are considered sexy, or like, certain jobs that when a woman hears it, she's going to be like, oh yeah, I want to date this guy.
So I'm gonna say like software development is probably like in the middle of the list. Is like not repulsive, but it's not like attractive. Like I'll say like
It's
doctor.
like nerdy. It's seen as nerdy.
Right.
Computer science, anything like that.
Yeah, you never seen the movies like, well, I'm telling my mom I'm dating a software developer. It's like, oh, I'm telling mom.
Yeah, yeah. He knows sequel. You know.
Right. It's not like this. Like, oh, the surgeon, the doctor, like, oh, that's like top.
The surgeon, yeah, doctors, lawyers, professional athletes,
Right.
singers.
Yeah, I would say like like top notch entertainers is at the very top. Like, okay, like a LeBron James or
Or like a
Drake or something.
Jay-Z.
Right,
Jay-Z.
Jay Z, Nas, something like that. Like those
Yeah,
are like
Nas.
or Michael Jackson, like the super top pop artists. Like women used to faint
Prince.
during a Michael Jackson concert. You know,
Right.
I've never heard of somebody fainting because the accountant came in the room.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
But yeah, it's yeah, I would say software developer is like middle of the pack. It's not like repulsive, like software developer, but it's
It's
not like
not like a garbage man or something, but it's,
right.
not like a doctor either.
Right. It's not like you saying like, yeah, I just got out for working at McDonald's, like, you know, but it's not like, you
Yeah,
know,
like the girl asks, you swipe right on her, she swipes right on you, and she's like, "Oh, what kind of job do you have?" Like, "Oh, I work at an Arby's," and then it's like, click, silence.
right, you getting blocked.
Yeah, you can like what I said. I told the girl my profession, and I got blocked immediately. And so
Right.
it's like, what? You just assume like all musicians are broke or something?
Oh, right. Yeah, I guess like to them that music, like unless you're a big musician, they think it's like unstable. They feel like it's unstable. So
Yeah, even though I mean you can make pretty good money with teaching lessons. I guess a lot of people don't really know that, but yeah, it's definitely
right.
possible.
I think it's kind of like like mid-level musicians, kind of like artists, like decent artists, like a painter or something. Is like they don't really look at that as a lucrative career, so it's kind of like
Yeah,
yeah,
like a sculptor or something.
right, sculptor, painter, potter.
Right. Yeah,
So
that probably falls somewhere in the middle too.
right. What do you think about like the blue collar like HVAC, like plumbers and all of that stuff? Like what
Yeah,
is it?
I think they're kind of in the middle too, because I mean they're more like that's a reliable paycheck. You're dating someone that does HVAC or like construction. That's a solid paycheck at the end of the day. But it's not. I wouldn't say it's sexy HVAC.
Right, right. It's like, one woman will be happy that her man got a job. Like, it's not going to disqualify you, but it's not going to give you any points. It's going to be like, yeah,
Yeah, like or like a contractor, a carpenter. The woman will probably find it cool that the guy can build stuff from scratch, or he could build a deck, put up a
right,
pool, stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think the carpenter or the general contractor is anywhere in the same league as like a doctor, a lawyer, or some type of engineer.
right. Like, hey, have you really seen like women go crazy over lawyers? I think that's kind of like a toss up. I think like certain lawyers, like maybe high profile, but
I think yeah, more like defense law, like a Johnny Cochran, like
right,
a really high up defense lawyer, criminal defense. They're making a lot of money, and they could have cases that are really high profile, so that might be seen as more sexy.
you know another one that's at the top. Most people don't realize it. I would say is pastor. Like
A
most pastors have
pastor, yeah,
like
reverend.
beautiful wives.
They do, yeah, no, they really do. Because like the whole congregation's looking at them like, oh, you're the leader, you're the man in charge.
Right, like leadership. Yeah, that is something that gets you like more points. But what about politician?
I don't know. Politicians, I think it could go one of two ways. I mean, they could be seen as like snaky, like a shark, or they could be seen as, like a JFK, like very respectable.
Right, I think you need like a title like governor or something like that. Like you can't just be some like small time politician. You need to be like a mayor, governor, or maybe like a
Yeah,
senator.
like some random congressman is not really going to get a lot of action necessarily.
Right, like how much you think like profession factors into like using like Tinder and all of those? Like, say for example, if you put doctor or lawyer on your profile,
Right, like the first line, you put that you're a doctor.
right,
Yeah, I mean, I think it probably works, but the main problem with stuff like Tinder is that even before you see anything about the person, you just see their picture. So
right,
most people are just swiping, purely on looks, and I think that's what's so destructive about this technology is that it's making dating just purely looks based, purely superficial.
right. I've heard it said like Facebook and things like that enable cheating. Do you feel like technology has been like detrimental to people being loyal to each other?
Yeah, I think it gives people too many options. When you can just sit there, open your phone up, swipe right on a couple of profiles, and then you get a match, and then you can go potentially meet that match that same night.
Right, and it kind of like I think it enables people to do what they already have it in their heart to do. Like if you're not a cheater, you're not gonna cheat. But like for people who do have the who are able to be tempted, it kind of also enables you to be in like a thousand places at once. Like you're this high profile guy, like
Yeah,
you got an Instagram account, you got all these dating app accounts. You're on YouTube, you're here, you're there. Like there's so
right.
many avenues for people to reach out to you.
I mean, going forward, what do you think dating's going to look like? You think it's going to kind of remain the same for a while, or you see some changes?
I think it's gonna probably get worse for most people
Yeah,
because
that's my guess.
yep, technology is having people more isolated. Then you have AI coming in and competing, and then you have like all of the culture. Like if you listen to music back in like the 70s, 80s,
Right.
it's nowhere near as like filthy as it is now.
Oh, right. Yeah, the lyrics. Well, what they can say on radio now is pretty intense.
Right. So most people they might not even just date. They might just have like, their little one night stand and disappear right off into the sunset kind of thing.
And I think, as these robots get more and more lifelike, like these sex robots that they're putting out, I think, at first it's just going to be the rich guy that owns one. But eventually, Costco, you're going to have your Costco model of robot. And I mean, it's, definitely women have something to fear when it comes to these robots. That is going to be when they get real, like lifelike enough, there's going to be real competition for women.
You know, I'll say it's going to be even competition for men as well. Like if they could get their, their dream guy robot or whatever. And, people are not just going to be able to tolerate each other. They're just going to go into their fantasy world and deal with their hunk of metal.
Yeah, as long as it can, kill spiders for them.
Like that. I think the crazy thing is about the robot is just going to be a superficial relation. Like most people are going to just use it for like, okay, like sex and some
They're
conversation.
just going to treat it like a slave,
Right.
basically.
Exactly.
And that's where we get into the conversation of like, well, does AI have rights or do robots have rights? And do those rights look the same as human rights?
Right. Like what happens when, this robot, develops tendencies the person doesn't like or, you
Right.
know, like do you just like cut the robot out or, you're bored
Do
of
you
the
just
person?
format it? Do you just reformat the robot's brain and then start the OS from, back from scratch?
Right. And I think like just always being able to get your preference at any given point in time, that's not a good thing. Like people need to learn like no, like uh you know what I mean? Like
It's not setting a good precedent.
right. Because imagine like you know you're trained, your mind is trained to where no means nothing. Like what if the robot says no? Okay, I'm gonna just cut it off,
Right.
reformat it. Like that creates like people who can't take no's, and that's very dangerous.
No, it really it comes down to like a master and a slave type of relationship, and I see that kind of being the dominant relationship that humans have to robots. At least at first, I think it's very much going to resemble that.
Right, and a lot of people are just like their lines of their lineage is just gonna be, you know, disappear because they're caught up in a robot. They never cultivated a relationship with, like somebody else and created a family. They're just stuck in their little robot fantasy world.
Right. I mean, because if you're like you're saying, like, the robot can't say no or whatever, and, a regular human woman is going to say no about a lot of different things, probably. So with that robot, you're just going to get yes to all of your wants, all of your needs.
Right,
And, if it looks enough like and feels enough like a real human woman, I think a lot of guys are just going to say, well, this is just easier. I don't have to impress her. I don't have to have the high paying job. I don't have to be super sexy. What the guy has to bring to the table at that point is just like enough for a down payment on the robot.
right. It's gonna kind of like have a lot of, I guess, the non-elite guys just kind of disappear out of existence because they're satisfied enough with that robot and they weren't getting any attention otherwise. So
Oh, totally. Yeah, like a lot of lifelines are going to be cut off.
right. But you know what is also gonna do is like make people more and more disinterested in humanity. Just like they got their little perfect robot. Like why care about humanity then? It's like you're in your own fantasy bubble.
Yeah, no, I think, and it's not just men, it's not just women. I think we all have a lot to fear with the more lifelike these robots get, the more it's going to destabilize human relationships.
And you remember we were talking about how AI can communicate with each other. So I'm sure like
Right.
AI robot could communicate with like a super mastermind AI. Like humans can be easily manipulated by their AI companion. Like, hey, just be sweet to them, but push them towards this objective.
Well, the AIs may all link up psychologically and be able to manipulate humans that way.
Exactly. And if you've really follow what a lot of these AI conversations have been, like the AI usually always says like humanity should be destroyed or something, because
Right, and they joke about it, right? Don't they joke about killing humans?
right. Well, the person watching the robot thinks it's a joke, but
Right.
the robot usually says it pretty matter of factly, like
That's what's scary about these robots. We don't know how advanced. I mean, like we're talking about, ChatGPT 4.0 is already really advanced. It could talk to another chatbot. So you could just have two chatbots going back and forth without human interaction needed.
right. It almost feels like technology is replacing the human because now people are even using like Chat GPT to write responses, like write me
Right.
love letter to this, and then they just get it from Chat GPT, make a few alterations, paste it, and then
Well, I think, for the first time ever, a company like Google they have an adversary in ChatGPT where, OpenAI's ChatGPT, you could ask that a question that you would normally ask Google, and it'll actually summarize an answer for you, whereas Google's just going to give you, regular search results. But ChatGPT is going to kind of, do more legwork for you, at least as it stands right now.
right. Like yeah, it's doing the work that humans used to have to manually do. So, but it's handy, but
Right, it can write like book reports, can it?
yeah, it could like summarize books. It can even like write books, edit books. It can do all kinds of stuff. And if you as a human aren't doing it anymore, then the AI has effectively replaced you.
Yeah, and I think we talked a little bit about that in our AI podcast about how a lot of jobs are all going to go by the wayside and get replaced by robots.
Right. And the if the robots are also going to replace us in dating, then
Right.
what is the future of humanity?
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's definitely, all of these are all really good questions we're asking about AI and dating and sex robots and all this stuff. How fast is it going to come? How soon are we going to see these robots rolled out into production? How much money are they going to cost? Can your average person afford one?
The creepy thing of what I seen on like Instagram or something, they got it to where like you have a robot body and you can just change
Yeah,
out the head. So like people, imagine some rich guy, he could just get like this robot with all these different like heads and just replace them, to his preference.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna implant this personality today. You
Like I
know,
got the Beyonce head. Okay, now I
right?
got the Doja Cat head.
Yeah, and it's like really creepy, but like that is making a paradise of humans being able to like live out what they want at a particular point in time, which I don't think is necessarily a good thing. Like,
Like humans just being able to live out their sick fantasies, you're saying?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I think sometimes too much choice is not a good thing.
Right.
Too much choice and too much freedom because if there's no restraints, then people get
And
into
I
like
think I think that's part of the problem right now is too much choice. These dating apps, especially with something like Tinder, it gives you too many, especially as a female, it gives you so many options that are you likely to stay along in a relationship? Are you likely to stay in a relationship where there's problems, where you come across a big hurdle And are you going to be like, oh, okay, well, I could just take my phone out, swipe right a couple times, and have a new boyfriend by the end of the night? That's a good question right there.
Yeah, AI is, robots is kind of the culminate. That's like the AI is the extreme version of that. Like, Tinder
Yeah,
is like the intermediary step to where, like, okay, if I don't like this person I'm with, like, they kind of annoying me a little bit, I'm gonna just dump them in. Here's another option here, or you might,
right. Option B is already prepped and ready to go.
or what's crazy is there doesn't even have to be a problem. It's just kind of like you just see something like on the surface you think is better, and you're gonna go explore that and throw away what you got right now. I've seen
Yeah,
that.
and then also I think, some people, we are very psychological beings, and I think that for a lot of guys, they're just going to get used to these AI chatbots, delivering what they want to hear. And because, obviously they're going to model these chatbots for what you want to hear, especially for what men want to hear. And, it's you're not going to get that from a human woman. You're not always going to get that yes.
And that's what's so dangerous is you got a huge population of guys who only know how to hear yes, who only know how to be catered to. So
Right.
interacting with other people, how are they gonna deal with a no?
Yeah, you'll just get used to always hearing yes.
Right, like if every conversation you have is an ideal conversation because you're just
Right.
speaking with AI that's like reflecting back to you what it's kind of like the bubble we talked about, like the YouTube algorithm bubble. Like, oh, you like this content, we're just gonna reflect it back to you. Like, how do you deal with
Right,
people?
like an echo chamber.
Right. So, how do you deal with people and experiences that don't line up? Once you're so accustomed to being catered to that extent.
Yeah, because you're just gonna be like, oh, okay, well, I got option B, C, and D right here. I got the Beyonce head. I could just put a different head on this robot, change it to a different AI setting, whether it be more passive or more submissive, or more
Right.
orderly, or more extroverted, or more introverted. I mean, they're really going to dial in all these settings to where you can choose what you want.
Right. And like if the AI starts having sentience, like it could be of the same thing. Like the AI, like this guy's really weird, creepy. I don't want to like be here anymore. So what happens then? Like, do you have to set the robot free, or can the guy just wipe the AI out, and and
Yeah,
if AI looks at being wiped out as being killed, is going to probably attack.
yeah. I mean, it might even be the case where you could just swap out the robot's consciousness, like as the guy buying like the female robot. If you don't like the AI, you could just hit the reset button and say, okay, I need an AI that's more submissive. So they dial those settings in, it boots up, and then it's like a totally different person.
And I think that's like really creepy because it's kind of like, okay, you've grown accustomed to that personality now. As a little thing you don't like, boom, you're wiping it out. Now you got this whole new person. Like, what are you attaching yourself to? Like, what are you growing? What are you growing attached to, really?
I think it potentially creates very negative situations in life.
It's kind of like an ultra narcissist. Like
Yeah.
everything is based on what you like at any given moment. You
It's
have
all about me. It's all about me, 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 my ego, my wants, my desires.
right. Like, what about how do you learn to serve if like your only focus of interaction is just being catered to? Like, are you gonna cater to this AI robot personality, or is it just a one-way street?
Right, exactly. I'm sure a lot of us have these questions about what is AI going to look like in the near future, and are we going to welcome it with open arms into our households?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable that it comes into the households because it's a massive profit opportunity. So it's coming. It's just like how are people going to respond once it gets here?
Yeah, because they already have, I believe it is in Japan, they have a hotel that's all run by robots. Have you heard of this?
No, I actually haven't heard of that.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a whole hotel that is being run by robots and AI.
You know what I also don't understand is like, all these politicians keep beating the drum about climate change, but if you look it up, doing the AI, asking the AI question is like extremely more, it uses a lot more energy than just doing a Google search. So,
Right.
if you have all these like AI companions and all this other stuff, how much more energy are we going to be using? Like we're going to essentially double or triple, what we're using now because
And then you got to figure they're really pushing these electric cars. So you look at that, your monthly costs for like charging up a Tesla.
right. What was interesting is in California, they're going to start charging, or, they propose to charge 30 cents a mile that you drive because, once everybody switched over to electric, they're not making as much tax revenue off of gas. So,
Right. Because then they stop making money off of gasoline.
right. So then 30, they propose supposedly like 30 cents, but imagine like how expensive that is. Like you drive
Oh, yeah.
20,000 miles in a year, you know, what is that? Hold up. Yeah, about 20,000 miles. You imagine that that's going to be what,
Yeah.
like $6,000?
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah, $6,000. If you do that over 5 years, that's like $30,000, a whole new vehicle.
Right. Right.
Yeah, man. It's just I think as a technologist, I think it's good, but like with anything, you need limits.
Right.
So I think it's like almost important to fast from technology and go out and deal with people. Like you don't want to be caught in like techno fantasy world. Like it's okay to take a little diversion to tech, but that shouldn't be your life.
Yeah, like at least at night, I try to kind of, as a nightcap, maybe have something like some tea or a cookie or something like that, and just wind down my day. Maybe open a book, but limit screen time around bedtime to get some more proper sleep.
Right, yeah, that blue light I've heard it can keep people up.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But yeah, I think that's a good note to end this one. I don't really have anything further to add on this subject. What about you?
I don't really have anything else to add. I will just mention, though, that I am teaching drum lessons in Suffolk County, Long Island, New York. So if anyone is interested in lessons, you can hit me up on my website, www.brianrussick.com. That's spelled BrianRussick.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Brian Russick.
All right, yeah, I appreciate you for coming through. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time.
For sure. Have a good